This is me. This is my beloved wife, Sylvia. This is Sylvia's idea of sailing. This is my dream of sailing and my hope of circumnavigating the globe as a retirement project in 2029. This is Sylvia's reaction to that idea.
What? You got a quest?
I am on a 6-year quest to convince Sylvia that a circumnavigation is a wonderful adventure, but the clock is ticking, so join me as I search for the perfect yacht that Sylvia will love, and get all your ladies to subscribe and cheer Sylvia on in the comments. Welcome back to Naval Gazing at Camp David. This week and for the following 3 weeks, we'll be continuing to do something just a little different. Many of you have asked if after touring so many yachts, I have settled on anything that would make Sylvia happy yet. My perception of what would be the right yacht for us certainly has vacillated over these last 3 years, as what I've learned from you, the audience, manufacturers, sailing courses, knowledgeable boat brokers, and my own research has molded my understanding of what is really needed for both Sylvia and I to be comfortable, safe, and happy living long-term on the water. I believe that the fog is beginning to clear, and I am settling down to refining a final list, although, as you'll soon see, I still have a way to go. Here are the general parameters. As with many of us, price must be the first filter. In my case, with a few rare exceptions, this means that I will be looking at pre-owned yachts. My current target is no more than $1 million, including refit and outfitting. For a refit budget, I'm looking at $250,000 for boats more than 10 years old, $150,000 for 5 to 10 years old, and $50,000 for 2 to 5 years old. For a depreciation budget, I'm estimating 10% a year for the first 3 years and 5% a year for the next 7 years, with little or no change after 10 years old. And as far as the age of the boats go that we're looking at today, I'm assuming I tag on 5 or 7 years onto that, given my launch date. My preference is for a catamaran, and I would favor dagger boards for better upwind performance and a KSP of 70 or better. Pure vinyl ester over a foam core is my desired hull construction, and shaft drive would win the day on propulsion. I prefer not to have a flybridge helm, leaning rather to a mid-bulkhead or outboard aft helms with twin helms, a strong plus factor. Regardless, there must be a clear and unobstructed view of the sails with or without adjustments of the great wheel from that helm, i.e., if you have the Versa helm, it certainly helps you swing out and have a better view of the sails. A heavy preference will be given to a power furling main and foresails, and all winches must be power. Finally, 2 to 3 side access owner's berths are favored, and the interior spaces must be elegant with an emphasis on natural wood veneers and as little exposed fiberglass as possible. With all this in mind, I've come up with the first draft of the Dave list, and it consists of 19 yachts stretching from the early 2000s to a couple that have yet to launch hull number 1. If I won the lottery, there would be several boats added, such as Privilege, Balance, Neil, Outremer, Explocat, and Kinetic. If the budget gets trimmed, I would be adding several earlier model monohulls, such as an Oyster 485, Contest 50, Jeanneau 57, a Moody 66 or 64, and the Beneteau 55 and 60. But for now, this is the top 19 on the new Dave list. We will look at 4 yachts a week until the last week of the series, where we'll examine the top 3. This week, we'll be counting down number 15, 14, 13, and 12. If there is a points tie, the tiebreaker was the KSP number as a final nod to sailing performance. Stay to the end to see the final scoreboard and how I scored them. The boats this week in no particular order are the Leopard 50 from around 2023, the Bally 48 from around 2019 to 2022, the Fountain Peugeot Saba 50 from 2018, and the Discovery 50 Forward Owner's Suite from 2010 to 2014. Looking at the profiles of our 4 yachts this week, They're all very attractive. The Bali 4.8, probably the chunkiest of the lot, but given that they've stretched it out now, we're out of that 46, 42, 40-foot length, the shape and design start to come into its own, and certainly you're getting way more payback on the interior space and usability of this vessel than you're losing on aesthetics. The Fountain Peugeot Saba 50, again, a very sleek vessel, very nice looking. They've plumbed out the bow almost completely. The Leopard 50, I think it's a great looking boat, especially given the amount of entertainment and social and living space. This is a highly, highly livable vessel. The only thing she's missing is a nice three-sided walk-around berth, and they've just about got that with a fore-aft. But they've got a nice plumb bow, that upper lovely sun lounge, and of course that amazing forward cockpit that's not just a forward cockpit, but the only one with an actual roof that covers over it so that you're sheltered from rain or heavy sun, and yet it still has a slide back section that allows the sun in. Just a fabulous jack of all trades. The wild card here, of course, is the Discovery 50 from 2010 to 2014. I am at a loss as to why this vessel isn't still in production, or somebody hasn't bought up the mold and is moving to production with this again. I know that Discovery went out of business, and that's a desperate shame because they were the only one of those luxurious monohull manufacturers in the ilk of Contest and Oyster and the various other ones, Swan and all those, that actually broke out and did a catamaran. And gosh, they did a beautiful catamaran. Hopping onto the coach roof and the deck top here, looking across, you can of course see that 3 of the 4 have that lovely fly lounge. One of them has a complete fly bridge, which is of course the Bali 4.8. The Leopard has a lovely fly lounge, sun pad, mid bulkhead helm, with a wonderful hardtop over that helm, still great visibility of the sails, and masses of space for solar out on the coach roof. You can't, of course, you can't even see that fabulous dedicated forward cockpit with interior access to it because it has a lovely roof over top, although you'll note that black stripe is a retractable shade that you can pull back and let the sunshine in if you want. The Fountain Peugeot, lovely upper fly lounge, mid bulkhead mounted helm, great visibility of the sails, and a full front cockpit with a lovely elegant touch of teak. No access through, but a really nice looking setup. The Discovery 50, this one is just gorgeous as well. It doesn't, of course, have the upper fly lounge, but you will note forward of the windows there's a wonderful open space that you can have beanbag chairs, all sorts of entertainment, and I could swear there's some variation of this that, believe it or not, either has a cockpit dip in that forward area there with a cover over it, or a hot tub, I believe I saw once even, or maybe they convert back and forth, sort of like the dinghy spot in the front of the Oyster 885, I think it is. Anyways, gorgeous looking yacht all around. Now heading down into the saloon, the Fountain Peugeot Saba 50, gobs of space there. Love what Fountain Peugeot are doing in that they acknowledge most people are going to be eating out in the cockpit. Why replicate that completely in the interior and take out huge amounts of living space? So they, in many cases, at least option a coffee table, a very usually innovative and storage-friendly coffee table in the saloon settee, which really opens up the space. And of course, you got that lovely island counter there that breaks up the kitchen, or at least gives you nice leaning and stabilization spots there in your galley. They also have a lovely aft cockpit. They've got the built-in barbecue, all that good stuff. The Leopard 50, I mean, just an epic aft cockpit. It almost feels too big. When you go from the 45 to the 50 and you're looking at that aircraft carrier deck size table there, you're just going, is this overkill? But, you know, I'm sure you get used to it quite nicely. And of course, you have the option to the hydraulic dinghy platform and swim platform in the aft there. Nice wide sugar scoops, easy access on and off. Into the interior, you've got the galley very nicely, a section of it along the starboard side there, and then an L-shaped in the forward starboard for the balance of the galley. Then you've got your settee, your U-shaped settee there on the left, and your forward-facing nav table with a optional TV on lift forward port. The finish inside, very durable. I would love a luxury option to their finishes where they go with a real wood veneer and jazz it up a bit. I'd also love it if on the sole of the cabin, instead of just a straight hole to lift up your hatch access to your storage under the sole, they do a nice chrome latch of some sort that you see in the boats. I think it adds a touch of class to it. But the thing that really sells this, of course, is that beautiful forward access to that amazing forward cockpit and a sheltered forward cockpit with a little dining table in there. I mean, there's just so much to love about this vessel. The Valley 4.8 really, they took Leopard and they reinvented it. They just didn't deliver a Me Too here, obviously. They've taken the galley and made it absolutely ginormous with a forward-facing nav. They've taken the saloon and absorb the majority of the aft cockpit into that saloon, but then open it up to the outside as a saloon, as a cockpit with full opening side windows and a garage aft door. They've maintained a portion of the outside cockpit with the aft forward-facing settee there. And then, of course, they have added in something that every manufacturer should be looking at now, that forward through galley access to a beautiful forward cockpit complete with, dining table. And then they don't have the lovely overhanging roof that gives shelter, but they do have a solid forward nets. They're not nets, they're a solid foredeck with pads on it that give a space for a soccer game if you wish. So a really neat vessel. The Discovery 50, well, this is where finally class meets catamarans, of the ilk of a privilege. And if I might say, maybe even a little higher, it depends on how you look at it. You walk into this 50, and we don't see the aft cockpit in this render, but it is a very welcoming aft cockpit. It's a mid helm. Bulkhead helm. And then you walk in and you've got almost like the Privilege 585 off to the aft starboard. You have either lovely club chairs or an L-shaped settee. Then you've got over to the port side a beautiful dinette with an L-shaped settee. And of course, you know how I love two separate eating and sitting areas in a vessel similar to a monohull. Forward, you have a highly practical galley that lovely U-shaped. You can wedge yourself in there. And then forward port, you've got a really, really neat forward-facing nav. Now, your window out the front is certainly much more reminiscent of a Lamborghini rear window than it is of any of the forward windows you'd see in any of these. But they've lifted, as you will see, the forward-facing nav station seat so you can see out that. Moving now then into the accommodations, back over in the Fountain Peugeot, you can get a Maestro in this where you have a full hull all to yourself, in which case you would have the aft fore-aft bunk and very spacious areas. Then on the other hull, you'll have a similar bunk in the aft, and then an athwartship three-side walk-around. But Fountain Peugeot does something very, very well, and that is give masses of access around their aft, fore-aft berths. They are, you'd have no problem. You can honestly say they're full three-side access. The Leopard comes in a 3 or 4 cabin version. They sort of They were one of the first, if not the first, to pioneer the MySpace area in a four-peak instead of a second or a third guest suite. And I think it's absolutely brilliant. So you can see as well, they did not choose to dedicate an entire hull to an owner's suite. They took a large chunk of it and created, probably 2/3 of the hull and extended the owner's head and shower into what would be the guest suite forward. You could see the VIP suite, and then they put the VIP suite up in the forepeak where you would normally have, say, a crew cabin. So really, really well laid out. Your access around that berth is not the greatest. I mean, it's okay, but it's not the greatest. I wish that they would sort of come up with some variation on this, reminiscent of a balance, say, and take that forward VIP suite, turn that into the main berth, and then just extend backwards so you do have full three-side access. Or find some way to do an athwartship three-side access in the aft here. But nitpicking here, it's very nice. The finishes, as I said, are a little industrial. They've darkened them up, but they're still quite plasticky feeling. I'd love an elegance package, shall we say, where they put a little piping on their cushions, and they have a real wood veneer option in here, and something like an Amalisk walnut. That would be awesome. Over in the guest side, of course, you have another fore aft berth. You have two heads, so you have a dedicated day head in this configuration, which is great, which is attached to the utility room, which is absolutely outstanding. You can have in this vessel full separate washer dryers if you want, or of course the combo, and then you have a full workshop and you can do any number of things with that. The Bally 4.8 really knocks it out of the park as far as livability here in the hulls. Look at that port side owner's hull. Absolutely spectacular. Full normal height, three-side walk-around berth, beautiful settees, desks, access out onto the cockpit area from inside your cabin, massive head, shower, double sink up front, and then your guests aren't complaining either. You got a forward athwartship on the starboard forward side with a very nice head and shower area there, and then you've got also to the right as you come down the stairs into the starboard hull, you've got a bunk room. Now I would convert that very quickly into a pantry or a utility room. And then aft, accessed from the cockpit with an outside access, a lot of privacy. You have a lovely berth in the aft for guests as well. The Discovery 50, this is where, again, she harkens back to either the Privilege 510, 5 series, or the 585 with the mother of all forward master's berths and suites. So this suite has access to two heads, not one, so I don't have to fight for counter space with Sylvia, which is just awesome. I can have one bottle in the bottom of my shower instead of a dozen. That would be awesome too. The difference between this and a 585, of course, it's a smaller vessel. You still have the full beam, Catamaran full beam master suite, but you cannot walk around the bottom of the berth, even crouched. You'd have to go across the berth or just go around and access it from the other side. You have beautiful little settees, you have work desks, this is a fantastic suite. Then in the aft, on the port side, you have a beautifully finished twin singles room. And then on the starboard aft, a beautiful VIP suite. And again, really good access up all sides of that bed. Looking at the numbers here, I'm not going to spend any time on the pricing at the top there. Suffice to say, these are targeted at less than $1 million once they're outfitted and refitted. So there's a dozen different ways to calculate that based on the age of the boat and the depreciation and blah, 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 and how much you're going to budget for refit. But we went through that in the introduction section. So let's hop on down. The Discovery, designed, of course, by the illustrious Bill Dixon. Man, he does some beautiful work. He's designed the new exquisite Solar 60. Any number of fabulous. He's designed one of my favorite monohulls, which was the Moody 64, Moody 66. The guy knows how to do class extremely well. And then you can see the others. Length overall, the longest here is going to be the Discovery at 50.52 feet. Next is the Leopard at 50.5. Next is the Fountain Peugeot at 49.15. And then finally the Bali at 48.9. The beam on these, the biggest beam is going to be the Leopard at 26.5. Then again, in second place, the Fountain Peugeot at 26.21. Then it's the Bali at 25.85, and the slimmest of the lot is the longest of the lot, and that is the Discovery at 25.79. The draft on these, your lowest draft is the Fountain Peugeot, which we see quite consistently at 4.1 feet. Next, a bit of a surprise, is the Discovery at 4.27. Then it's the Bali at 4.46, and not a big surprise, the Leopard in last place then at 5.25 feet. Bridge deck clearance, I couldn't find it on any of them save for the Leopard. Thank you, Leopard, at 3.3 feet. So lots of clearance there. As far as light ship displacement goes, your lightest here, and this is the surprise, is the Bali at 29,600 pounds or 13.4 metric tons. Second place, another big surprise, is the Discovery, which you would think would be quite heavy, is 32,000 pounds or 14.5 metric tons. Next is the Fountain Peugeot at 34,114 pounds or 15.47 tons. And in last place, the big girl is the Leopard at 45,400 pounds or 20.6 tons, like 5 tons heavier than anything else. Payload capacity, this is something that more of the manufacturers should start putting in here, along with bridge deck clearance. Any of these gaps, should be filled for those of us looking around at trying to understand what's going on. Yeah, you can talk to the manufacturers and finally dig it out of them, but why isn't there a standardized spec sheet here? But payload capacity here, your biggest payload capacity of the two I could find, which is the Bali and the Leopard, much to my surprise, is the Bali at 8.5 metric tons or 18,900 pounds. Next is the Leopard at 5.4 tons or 11,905 pounds. Upwind sail area on these, the leader in this is the Leopard. Of course, she needs it at 1,716 feet. The next is the Fountain Peugeot at 1,520 feet. Next is the Discovery at 1,490 feet, so very close there. And finally, the Bali at 1,378 square feet. As far as engines go, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You got the Bali and Leopard at twin 57s, the Fountain at twin 55s, and the Discovery at twin 54s. As far as capacities go, looking across, it's the Bali in a pretty commanding lead at 1,000 fuel and 1,120 in water. The next ones are really the Leopard and the Fountain that are tied really at about 930 fuel and 700 water. And then the Discovery is at 780 liters of fuel and 550 liters of water. Okay, getting into some of the more technical detail. And again, this is where you got to start talking to your brokers and your manufacturers reps and getting them to fill in this imperative data for those of us who are looking to live aboard. We need this information. We need to know the interior square footage that we can use in a vessel, the exterior square footage that's available. We need to understand the interior enclosed storage volume and the exterior locker volume. We also need to know clearly fridge and freezer capacity, which is generally fairly easy to find, but the only ones who do all of this is balance. And that's just amazing. They do a fabulous job. Their information is so open and transparent. Bally now and then will give you some interior square footage, but it really is sort of hit and miss. But here we really have the fridge and freezer. That's all we've got, save for the Discovery, which I couldn't find it on. The monster winner on this, of course, and just bear in mind, when I look at fridge and freezer, I combine the two, I split them in half, unless it's specified, because 9 times out of 10, the fridge and freezers are convertible. On the Bally, you've got the mother of all American-sized fridge freezer systems in it, so you have 308.5 liters of fridge and 308.5 liters of freezer, which for the older among us is 10.9 cubic feet and 10.9 cubic feet. Next up is the Leopard at in comparison, a tiny 106 liters, but it's still very good. 106 and 106, and that's 4 cubic feet and 4 cubic feet. And then the Fountain Peugeot at 95 and 95 liters, or 3.3 and 3.3. Getting into the nitty-gritty of hull design. So, looking across these, there is one clear winner, and that is, no surprise, the Discovery. Even though an older vessel, it is vacuum-infused, pure vinyl ester over high-density foam core with woven E-glass, locally enforced with carbon fiber, plus a layer of woven Kevlar throughout the forward part of the hulls. That is a hull. The rest of the group are much the same. They're vacuum-infused polyester over a foam core with some type of a gel coat or water-resistant coat on the outside. Still good. It's just not a pure vinyl ester boat, carbon reinforced with Kevlar in the forward area. As far as system voltage and battery banks, it was a little challenging here, so I didn't capture those. Okay. Moving into performance indicators, this may raise an eyebrow or two, I'm sure. If we're looking at sail area to displacement, which is indicative of power, the winner here is the Discovery at 23.6, followed surprisingly by the Bally at 23. Bally and Fountain Peugeot. Fountain Peugeot 23.1, Bally 23. And then the Leopard at 21.5. Down at displacement to hull length at the waterline, or the indicator on heaviness, here it's the lowest number wins, and it is again the Discovery at a 114.5. That's followed by the Bally at 134.9, Fountain Peugeot at 147.4, and the Leopard at 172.3. Then the KSP, which is indicative of percent of wind speed at a theoretical 10 knots of wind, don't know what angle. It's just sort of a comparative across the line to see which might be and to what degree faster than the other. So here, the fastest one is the Discovery at 76% wind speed. Next is the Bally at 73. The Fountain Peugeot very close at 72, and the Leopard at 68. If you're enjoying the content, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button, then share the channel with a couple of friends and hit the like button. It's free and really helps the channel. You can also join our crew on Patreon, where you can enjoy ad-free viewing as well as downloads of the Excel specifications and PowerPoint layout comparisons while helping the channel for a few dollars a month. And on that, I am loading as well all the new episodes. Try to get them out a couple of days, a week earlier, depending on how far out I'm recording. But when I record them, they're on there in advance. I'm also standardizing, redoing all of the spreadsheets and standardizing to the new form that we have, and trying to update the information so that you can actually download the Excel spreadsheet and play with it. It's not a PDF. And then, of course, on the PowerPoints, you've got the full PowerPoints of the layout comparisons. Finally, I'm hoping once I finish standardizing all of the historical sheets with the new sheets, I can bring them into a single sortable sheet. So that's in the future. You can find a link to the Naval Gazing at Camp David Patreon channel in the description below, where you can also click to receive our free ebook and information on some really cool virtual sailing training. And speaking of cool, my friends at catamarandshow.com have developed an amazing website and database of every contemporary catamaran available and scheduled to launch that allows you to do selectable, in-depth comparisons of 3 cats at a time. They're also working on an incredible virtual tour and on-the-fly configurator that provides the option of fully immersive virtual reality with the appropriate 3D goggles. This is an incredible resource for anyone considering a new catamaran purchase. Have a look by clicking in the link in the description below. Okay, hopping on board our 4 finalists in the New Dave Top 19 list. We're, of course, looking at 15, 14, 13, and 12. What would Sylvia say? Well, we're going to start with the Discovery, and I know that Sylvia would love this. Look at this aft cockpit. Look at that shiny, glossy, beautiful table. Look at, as you enter the saloon, how gorgeous it is. Your separate seating, that incredible kitchen. Then there is this staggering owner's suite, hull to hull, the whole thing with 2 bathrooms. So I got my own bathroom. There's your guests. They're not going to be crying either. We're going to do a quick speed tour here using some old footage. You can see the foredeck, lots of space, very nice area in the cockpit area, that beautiful high gloss table, great coverage here. It is a canvas cover, so you can pull it all the way back. Look at this saloon. Look at, and there's that elevated helm station I was telling you about, your chart table. But man, do you have space for days in this inside this thing. And the joinery is absolutely gorgeous. You can see that sort of Lamborghini-esque window there, very slim, but great opportunity here. That the starboard forward here, this is your starboard access to the owner's suite, and this would be my side. I got a little work table here. I might have to give that up to Sylvia. I got my own bathroom. Port forward, this would be Sylvia's side. Nice settee there. You got your own, again, head there. Everything is absolutely gorgeous. You got the vertical seascape windows that have the blind on them right now. Now, let's head across and into the starboard aft. This is your VIP suite. I mean, who's going to be complaining about staying in here? Absolutely gorgeous. Lots of room around that bed to get up and around. We're going to head over to the aft here again, port aft, to that absolutely elegant twin bed and those beautiful seascape windows. Okay, next up is the Bally 4.8. What would Sylvia say? Again, I think she'd like it. The finish isn't what the Discovery is, but wow, do you have space for days? Lots of practical options here. There is your fly bridge, beautiful sunning area, massive galley. I mean, this is like living at home. It's absolutely fantastic. Forward-facing nav station, beautiful owner's bed there, natural height, full walk around, and you've got access out into the cockpit from the owner's suite as well as through the saloon. There's that bunk room I was talking to you about on the alternate hull. Okay, quick speed tour of this one using footage. Apologize for the picture-in-picture here. That's not me right now. This was one of my earlier videos. We're hopping into the aft cockpit here. Of course, you got access into that aft guest suite. And you can see where the door comes down. You got a very nice aft forward-facing settee here. And beautiful teak, lots of room to move around. You've got a nice area in the aft there as well for lifting your dinghy. And when it's off, you've got access to the ocean. Of course, this is a really nice area here with that aft forward-facing settee. There's your beautiful saloon area with the garage door up. You've got club chairs. I've accelerated this because you've already seen it, but I do want to refresh your memories. But they've done nice little things, like they put tufted buttons. I think the club chairs were a great add. The finish is okay. There's that giant fridge freezer. I mean, and look at the size of your wonderful galley here. Your forward-facing ad, lots of room and a desk there. Lots of room to do everything that you want to do, and yet still be fairly secure in there in a heavy sea. And the aft door, I mean, you could leave it down if you want to. There's a full door in it. Lots of soft closed drawers there. And we'll just head down to to what is on this one. I think this is a 4-cab or 5-cabin version. So you have the forward thwartship, and then the head in the bow. Lots of giant windows here. Really nice dry head and shower. Then heading into the aft here, you can see, I'm getting seasick here. Sorry, guys. The height of the owner's bed there, and your full access out onto the aft cockpit area there. Look at the size of the windows in this thing. They're absolutely gigantic. So, you've got so much space, so much comfort, so much livability. Even got some nice rounded corners there that you can see. It is really a neat design. Now, of course, you're paying for this in very wide hulls, but you saw the numbers. They could use a little more sail area, but the weight is good, and the actual predicted performance is not down into the 60s like, say, a Lagoon is. Here is that bunk room we talked about. Can you imagine turning this into a wonderful utility room? There is your forward VIP on this side, and their head. Again, they have a beautiful head and shower there. And we'll just have another gander here quickly at the bunk room. And then, of course, to access the final suite, you've actually got to go out into the cockpit and then down the outside access. Here's that front door, out onto this epic, entertaining and livability area. And that, of course, that solid front foredeck really stiffens this boat, eliminating squeaks and other unnerving sounds that might bother you. So nice wide side decks. Bally/Katana Group, of course, never have hatches on their side decks, and so it's very clear. Up here, you've got that beautiful upper deck. Wonderful visibility and wonderful entertainment space. Of course, the side steps are a little exposed, so I'd be uncomfortable having Sylvia isolated from me to this degree if we were doing our stuff. But when you factor in all the other benefits, I mean, wow, it really has a lot going for it. You might be able to just, get the Marriage Saver headsets and live with it that way. There's your access that we talked about down into that final cabin, and your access into, this is the final cabin. The other one was access into your owner's suite. But you can see your guests in here, they're not going to be complaining. Yeah, it's a wet head, but I mean, wow, they have full privacy. It's fantastic. Okay, moving on now. The Leopard 50 2023. This is one of my all-time favorite vessels. Look at this beautiful aft cockpit. You got that lovely artistic black stripe that carries all the way through with sunroofs and whatnot. This amazing sky lounge, and of course the staggering front cockpit area, fully accessible from your saloon. Beautiful kitchen. I really didn't like this finish in this year, but they have darkened it up a bit. There's that master berth. You can see you really do sort of have limited access up the side. There's the darker finish now, but as you can tell, it's very obviously sort of an artificial plastic. There is your VIP suite, and there is another berth for you. Quick speed tour. We're going to zip up here into the cockpit absolutely beautiful. The indirect lighting, the aesthetics that they've dealt with here, that lovely aft dinghy launch and a swim platform. And then you can see heading into the saloon, you've got that fabulous skylight that just continues that black stripe of aesthetic all the way from the cockpit. You got the forward-facing nav, all sorts of space in here. I'd love to have an option to remove that extension U on there, just open it up. There is your floor and your storage, and my friend Daniel there opening up the skylights. Really beautifully done. Here is your 2/3 hull owner's suite. You can see your bathroom area here with the glass shutting door, nice makeup table there, and a lovely chest of drawers with more spots there to place stuff. But you can see your access. I mean, it's not bad, but you are somewhat limited up the side there. It's also quite angular in here, so I'm hoping on the next gen they smooth some of that out. But overall, I mean, you can't argue about this. There's your guest suite. Your guests are not going to be complaining. Absolutely gorgeous. Yes, the finish is artificial plastic, but it is executed very, very nicely. You've got lots of ventilation in all these cabins. So, of course, you've got air conditioning and all of this here with lots of solar on the roof to power it. And then you'd sub in your lithium-ion battery bank. There is your MySpace with your washer-dryer combo, all sorts of space to do your work in. Really a spectacular vessel in its usability. That front cockpit there, again, Daniel showing off his front cockpit with the retractable hood. There is your beautiful sky lounge with the hard top. And I mean, you can see that hard top, how much shelter it provides. And we'll just go over their high points, the aft cockpit, forward cockpit, and fly lounge. Okay, Fountaine Pajot Saba 50. Beautiful vessel in the cockpit area. Again, gull wing access into one of the cabins, which I really like. Lots of space. Beautiful fly lounge here with sun pads. And then you've got your faux front cockpit here with a beautiful bit of teak up front. There's the coffee table in the saloon that we were talking about, so that it really opens up the saloon. Forward facing nav, beautiful island. And there is your owner's berth. You can see how much space you have around it. It doesn't thin out at the base. Very nice makeup table there, and there's your VIP suite. A little quick speed tour here, utilizing some of Fountaine Pajot's own footage. You can see that lovely island counter, easy access to the cockpit, and then we'll just head down into the guest athwartship. Lots of, you got a very nice vent above your head there, and of course vents all around. Here's your owner's suite. You've got lots of space up and around the vessel, lots of light, lots of ventilation at your head, above your head. Beautiful ensuite there. All your fixtures are very high quality. And then, your saloon itself is so comfortable. You've got your TV there. You've got full doors that open. We'll head across to the other side here. And here's your owner's suite. Again, you can get perspective on how much space there is around that. It's definitely a full 3-side and a very, very nice owner's head here. So, I mean, they've really done a great job as far as all that goes. Then you've got your ensuite and shower area. And here's a quick look at how beautiful that front cockpit area is with that bit of teak. I'd probably do a high gloss on that teak, as we all know. But what a pleasant space here, even though, you can't access it from the inside. Heading up to the fly lounge, again, you got some folks in there. You got some perspective on the size and the comfort here. It's not meant for the middle of the day in the Caribbean. It's meant for the evening to look at the stars for your sundowners. Great space at the helm, very practical helm. So you can get assistance there if you need it without getting in the way of the wheel. It's just terrific. And then finally, we're going to look at the Dave score. How did they all do? Well, here we are, and you can now see how the standings are. Out of this 4, in 15th place is the Fountain Peugeot Saba 50. Then it's the Leopard 50 in 14th spot, the Bali 4.8 in 13th spot, and at the head of this 4 and in 12th overall is the Discovery 50 with that forward stateroom. So if we look across this, of course, interior living space, which is elegance, space, comfort, all that mushed into one, you've got the Discovery at 9 out of 10. I mean, you've got everything there in the interior. Multiple seating areas, incredible master suite, elegance, comfort, terrific forward-facing nav, fabulous galley. I mean, if it's not a 9, it's a 10. Next is the Bali. You can't get away from it. The space inside, although not as elegant as the Discovery, is nothing short of amazing. The Leopard and the Fountain Peugeot, about the same, very, very nice, but about the same overall. Exterior living space. Of course, it's the Leopard at a 10 out of 10, one of the few I've ever given. I mean, what else can you do? They've got that beautiful sheltered forward cockpit with access from the saloon. They've got the aft cockpit. They've got the fly lounge. They've got a hardtop over your helm. Everything is there. It really is spectacular for the Leopard exterior living space. Next up is the Bali. The only reason it's down a wee bit would be it lacks the shelter, although I can do one of those tents over the forward cockpit and solid foredeck. But it also has an upper isolated helm. But outstanding overall. I mean, just outstanding and very innovative. Next up is the Fountain Peugeot at 8 out of 10. Again, beautiful faux front cockpit, lovely cockpit, and lovely fly lounge with a mid bulkhead helm. Finally, the Discovery at 6. I mean, you do have a canvas top. Now, some would probably give that more points for a canvas top over your cockpit that you can remove if you wish. I wouldn't. I'd keep the hard top. You do have that forward deck area. This could pop up a bit if I could find one with that sort of molded in forward cockpit or hot tub. But there you have it. It's at a 6 out of 10. It's a very standard configuration. Nice, but standard. Light Air's performance. Really, the Discovery, Bali, and Fountain Peugeot, you can't really score them much above one another. They're all within a hair's breadth. And the Leopard, of course, at a 6 out of 10. Upwind performance, they're all about a 6. None of them have a dagger board, and none of them are significantly longer wetted hull to allow for that. Helm position, the Discovery, Leopard, and Fountain Peugeot, all a 7. And the Bali a 6. You might wonder why 7, Dave. It's a mid bulkhead helm like you wanted. Well, I'd like dual helms, and honestly, I'd like them on the same level as the deck, if possible, out the aft. So that's why it's a little lower for me. That would give me much better consistent visibility of both the sides of the hull and the sail trim at any time. Quality, Discovery, an 8 out of 10. I mean, it probably should have been a 9 out of 10. Bali, Leopard, and Fountain Peugeot, I'd score them all about the same. So there you have it. The next 4 in the top 19, 15, 14, 13, and 12. Please, I would love your comments about what you think of these choices and their order. Hang on, of course, for next week, and then finally the week after that, where we see who the winner is. I think you may be surprised. But man, some of the older cats, it's hard to find an older cat that's nice because it really is in a much more younger evolution than the monohulls. You can find beautiful older monohulls, but not so much with cats. But when you do, like that Discovery, it's spectacular. And some of the innovation that's happening with Bali is pretty amazing. And of course, Fountain Peugeot and Leopard are just really solid manufacturers. Anyways, that's our review for this week. Leave me some comments, some thoughts, some impressions. I would love to hear from you. We'll see you next week. Cheers.